Lance was saying with Morning Live today, now the One Young World Summit in The Hague currently underway, and our very own Leanne and our executive producer Lumko Chimlongo, they are over there as well. And just listening to some of the stories, that Leanne was sharing with us earlier on, and these issues, as one can imagine, are not peculiar to any country, but they tend to transcend borders, transcend boundaries, race, color, creed, and many young people battling with the very same issues across the world, and which is what makes this particular summit such a unique one, where you can bring all these young people together, have them talk about these challenges that they face, and of course try to perhaps come up with some solutions. So let's go back to The Hague now, and Leanne is standing by there, and she promised us earlier that she would be with the former Public Protector Thuli Madonsela, but I'm sure we're yet to find out. Leanne?
Thanks very much, Sakina. I keep my promises, you know that. Absolutely, I'm standing right with her. But before that, I want to comment on what you said about the young leaders that are here. Now, unfortunately, that interview that we were doing with the young winner of the Politician of the Year, Julius, was absolutely incredible. We did a pre-record, so hopefully we'll be able to play that out to you. But this man, honestly, is the potential that the African leaders have got, and in the youth. Saying to the fact that we cannot have leaders that are 80 years old plus, 70 years old plus, leading us when the new generation think completely differently to how they do. And he nailed it when he was speaking, and I must say it was very, very interesting, so I'm hoping we play that to you. Well, a promise is a make, and here we go. Thuli Madonsela, our former Public Protector, is here with us. It is so good to see you and have you here talking to us on Morning Live.
Thank you, Leanne. It is such a privilege, and good morning, South Africa.
When I was sitting in that audience, and obviously everybody's been introduced on stage. I mean, we have had from movie stars to former prime ministers to past presidents to some of the biggest businessmen that the world have got. But when Thuli Madonsela's name was introduced to come onto that stage, standing ovations and screams, I mean, it just shows and proves how much the world loves integrity.
Certainly, I'm really overwhelmed by the love and light that is filling this place. But what's even more remarkable is that as South Africa, we have our social capital back again, and the world loves us once more.
Yeah, they do. They really, really do. I mean, just a couple of meters down the road from here is a beautiful statue of Madiba that is here on the streets of The Hague. So whichever way you look at it, there is an influence of South Africa, and there is South Africa wherever you go. Leaders that come from South Africa are incredible, and we need to continue that trend.
Well, we are the country that really showed the world that hope does count, that hope can really build a nation, and that hope can drive resilience. But more than anything else, that you can take tragedy and stand on it and create something great out of it, which is what happened in South Africa. We were a divided nation, and we were a nation that had a lot of lack of integrity or corruption, to be honest about it. But when Madiba rose, he rose with the nation, and he rose with the world about the fact that it's sexy to do the right thing.
Yes.
And we're back, I think, to that era where the world is becoming, I would say, is happy again to embrace integrity. And, well, there's still challenges. I think we're going through that period, and you spoke about young leaders versus old leaders. I think you see the Macrons, you see the Justin Trudeau's, and you see the young leader that we've just, who's just been elected as the Politician of the Year. And then you see some of the old order, and there's a bit of a struggle. But I think that the way forward is going to be a much better world, and certainly a much better Africa when it comes to integrity, social justice, and inclusiveness.
Yeah. It certainly is, and I mean, it's something that we need to understand, and that we need to realize that we're living in a completely different world. No matter where you look, no matter what you touch, no matter what you feel, the youth want change. And you can feel it in that room. It's a very safe space where people are able to express themselves and talk about the frustrations. that the older generation have imposed on them. You know, this is no one asked a child to come into this world. We brought them into this world, and we've punished them. And that's what I'm gathering from there. And they don't want that to happen anymore. And it's incredible. And I know you feel the same way, because that's where your passion lies, is with the youth.
Well, certainly. The good thing about One Young World is that it provides young people with a platform to channel their anger and their dissatisfaction with the status quo to something positive. It gives them a platform to think about ways in which they could act to make a difference, beyond protest, beyond violence. And as you can see, a lot of these young people are really lighting a candle against whatever darkness they're experiencing. It could be domestic violence, as you saw with my protege. They went ahead to counsel look hard, and many of the young people that we saw on the sexual violence panel last night, it's all about, I see wrongdoing in the world. I don't like what I see. I want to live in a better world. What will I do? How do I step up to banish the darkness? How do I collaborate with others? How do I bring the rest of the world on board to create a better world?
You know, you talk about in fact, if you follow me on Twitter, please do go and have a look. I tweeted his entire talk, well, as much as I could, where he shared his story of how he was brought up in an abusive home, and he broke away, but his mom and sister were still there, and him and his brother were working tirelessly to get money to let them escape. But 5 days after they got the money, his father shot and killed his mother and his sister, and then shot himself. This is when I talk about the sins of the older generation are let out on the youth. I mean, he was so emotional, and that was just one of many stories that were shared.
Absolutely. And that's the power of the young people, to take a tragedy or adversity and use it to step up and change the world. I think the other thing that we take from the experience with Look Hard is, don't judge a person by their skin color. Yes. Don't judge a person by their color. Don't judge a person by their race. And he does acknowledge that based on his class and his race and sex, he is a privileged person, but he has chosen to use his power and privilege for change. But also he has suffered some of the injustices that are suffered by any other person. And One Young World is one place where we connect and we understand that there's something remarkable about the human spirit, but all of us here are connected by the experiences we have endured when it comes to injustice, either injustice to ourselves or injustice to people we love. And all of us are connected by the desire to do something about it. And it's remarkable to see these young people being brave and standing up against, major governments that have so much power and so much ability to destroy. But these young people are saying, we want a better world and we will stand up for it.
Yeah. And that's what's so inspiring, is that you know that hopefully the world is in better hands. Because I think every leader that stood up there, and I think I've said this about 5 times this morning alone, every leader has almost stood up in front of the youth and apologized for what they have done to the world.
Well, certainly. I think one of them was former UK Prime Minister Brown,
yes,
Gordon Brown also apologized. Kofi Annan also used to apologize. But one thing that I like about One Young World, though, it is an elegant passing of the baton. Whilst the old generation made the mistakes or made the decisions that brought us here, but there's an understanding that there's wisdom in having made mistakes, that it's not a world where it's just young people and the old people have to disappear. It's a platform where there's an exchange of ideas and a passing of the baton so that the young people take the process forward.
Now, I want to talk about, as we begin to wrap up the interview, your Tuma Foundation, because as much as you are here representing yourself as Thuli Madonsela, which is a bigger brand than we can imagine, but the Tuma Foundation, what is it that you do in this foundation?
Well, the Tuma Foundation is a democracy, leadership and literacy foundation. It seeks to make democracy work for all in order to defend and strengthen democracy. And what do we do? There's 2 key things that we do. One is democracy literacy through democracy dialogue. So you'll see now and then the young people at Tuma organize a platform that is called a Demologue. It's a democracy dialogue, and in order to foster better understanding about democracy, particularly among young people, because when young people don't understand how democratic processes work, they resort to violence, whereas they could reshape, re-engineer, and use democracy in order to make sure it works for all. We also have a process called enterprising communities. It's my favorite project because it's about helping communities lift themselves up, and then we find the business sector as social impact investment partners, and also get government to make sure that each community gets its democracy dividend. And we currently piloting at Emanzimeleni in Empangeni and Dlamini, Soweto, and we will be also going to Kayamandi in Soweto. I must also say that all of this is also working with Stellenbosch's Marshall Plan on social justice, where we're marshalling resources from civil society to renew and to renew South Africa and to end poverty and inequality. It's similar to the post-World War II Marshall Plan, which was about Europe's recovery.
Excellent. It is always such a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of it. You're up again today. Are you going to be speaking again today?
I'm speaking tomorrow. It's a privilege to be here, and I'm saying to other people, join One Young World. It's the world of hope, and a world where young people take action to build the world they want to live in.
Thank you so much. Our former public protector, advocate, professor, mother, engaged, soon to be married, Thuli Madonsela. Thank you so much for talking to us here on the program. All right, that's where I'm going to say goodbye to you from here as well. I know that there's more in the Johannesburg studio. It really has been a pleasure, and we'll bring you more of those interviews that we do in the course of the program. God bless and bye-bye.